So hi everyone. This morning we are joined by Carla, and she is the director of Betsy's. Betsy's is a raw dog food supplier. So morning, Carla. How are you?
Morning, very good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. It looks like it's going to be a nice day, so I think I will get outside today.
Yeah, I hope so. Bit of gardening.
Definitely. I bet it's not easy for you with a little one toddling around and everything else, and working from home.
No, but she does like gardening too. So we give her a little watering can. She's off. She's watering the plants. It's happy days.
Entertains herself. Brilliant. So Carla, tell us about Betsy's, where the idea came from.
Okay, do you want the long version or the short version?
Let's go long. Let's go long. It's good to have a backstory.
Okay, so the long version. I used to home board many years ago, and that's how I met Bryony. I used to home board her beagles for her. I still do it now. I breed and I show beagles. So at the time, I had a litter from my original beagle, Bella, who I've still got, and she had a litter of 5, and in those 5 was Betsy. And Betsy was born, and she was tiny. So beagles on average, sort of, I've had 300 grams, 350 grams. She was born at about 170, so she was tiny. So straight off the bat, she was very special. She wasn't gaining weight like her siblings, so I started to bottle feed her, and I weaned her, which was really hard work, but I only did it for about a week, and then she sort of caught up. I already had families lined up for this litter, but for various reasons, the family couldn't have Betsy in the end. Well, she was just named as Little Purple because she had a little purple collar. When Bryony caught wind of this, she was like, "Oh my God, is it Betsy?" And I was like, "You've named her already." So we had a chat. I mean, Bryony, to be fair, in terms of a breeder and a pet owner situation, she's a perfect home. She's a fantastic owner and a pet owner. So it was no question really. She took on Betsy. And from there, our friendship grew, really, mainly because I got messages every 5 minutes. She's doing this, she's doing that. And because she was so tiny, she's still so tiny. She's about, I think, 11 kilos. She's tiny.
Not much on her at all
in the
then.
garden. No, she's like a miniature beagle. She's 5 soon, and she still gets asked, "How old's the puppy?" And she's like, "Yeah, she's 5." She's not a puppy, she's just tiny. So our friendship grew from there, really. But it was because of Betsy. So when she was about a year and a half, 2, she started to get sort of some skin irritation, upset tummies. She was quite sluggish. So Bryony was sort of trying different, because we were kibble feeders then. So she was trying different sort of grain-free and wheat-free and trying these different options. And they were helping a little bit, but not a huge amount. And we had been toying with the idea for raw for a long time. But at that time then, when we were kibble feeders, you know, it's so easy to put it in the bowl. Raw to us was like, oh, it's such a big jump. But sort of because of Betsy's persistent issues, we both went with it. So we both plunged together, and we used to DIY for hours. We used to DIY sort of 5-6 weeks at a time for our dogs. And it was from there, really. The results, I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see it. So this dog just changed. Her skin was so much better, because she used to get such irritated skin. She'd scratch it, and her hair would fall out, and she just wasn't a happy puppy, bless her. So switching to raw, I think it was within about a week or 2, just the changes. And she was so much happier. She was so more energetic, and she was sort of just happy to be alive. She was loving life.
Because it was from there. So sad, isn't it, when they're so itchy and you can see that they're uncomfortable, and it makes them grumpy and sad, and it really affects their mood. So it's like a new lease of life for them, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, gut health, it's the same for us. It just comes out in their skin. So she was brilliant. She was just fantastic. And from there, we sort of had a few friends going, "Oh, could you," because they wanted to raw, but they didn't want to DIY. So they went, "Oh, could you sort of prep for us?" And we were like, "Yeah, okay." And then from there, it just went. We were like, because we saw the benefits for Betsy, we were like, people need to know about this. I know this was only probably 3-4 years ago, but even then raw wasn't as well known as it is now. So we were just our main focus, and it still is our main focus, do what's best for the dog. And that's sort of within all our ingredients, the way that we prep it. We just have the dogs in the forefront of our mind, really.
Brilliant. So then Betsy's grew from there, really. You developed your brand and a range of flavours and everything that you have now.
Yeah. So my background is actually a graphic designer. Totally random. So I did all the branding for Betsy's, which I love, because I could really, I think sometimes trying to tell a designer a brief when it's not your business can be tricky. But because we worked together on it and we knew exactly what we wanted, we got the branding sort of, well, we're happy with it. We sort of felt it was spot on, just clean and simple. And yeah, we initially started with 5 flavours. So we had our chicken, beef, pork, lamb, and our fish and tripe. And as we've gone on, we've just added more flavours, really. So we started the core 5, we call them. We put in the same bone and the same kidney, the same heart, the same sort of protein. So it was chicken bone, ox heart, ox kidney, and pig liver in all of those. But as we've been growing, because we love customer feedback, so we've been getting a lot of feedback, and people really love the sort of the single proteins. So we've been trying to introduce that a little bit more. So our venison and duck, for example, no chicken bone in that one. Our turkey and pork is just turkey and pork, so it's a mix of those two. We also have a lamb single protein, which is just the lamb meat, lamb heart, lamb offal. And we're just trying to grow on that, really, and expand just to sort of suit different people's needs, really, and their dogs' needs, and just try and hone in on that a little bit to help them.
So for people that have perhaps are kibble feeders and are thinking about switching to raw and everything, could you explain the difference between a DIY and a complete for people?
Yeah, so a DIY, I suppose, from doing it myself, DIY, and then sort of having a complete in. Completes for me are a winner. So much easier, because I can sort of just weigh out what I need that day and feed. Whereas DIY, I suppose you do have a bit more flexibility. If you've got dogs with allergies, you can sort of pick and choose what proteins you want a little bit more. But it is a hard slog. It's a long time to sort all that out. And what I sort of like about our completes is our tubs, they're biodegradable, compostable. So once you're done, off they go. Whereas when I used to DIY, I used to have my little Chinese tubs, washing them out and then reuse, and it was not a simple task to feed them. Completes are, in my opinion, easier to feed. But it depends. I think especially if you're starting out, completes are the way to go. If you find your feet a little bit more with raw feeding, then I suppose DIY is there as an option. You don't have to, I only complete, I only DIY. You can mix it up a little bit if you want to, I think. No hard and fast rule.
When you have gone to complete, you would never go back to DIY. I DIY'd for a bit and I hated it.
Yeah, I think when you've done it for a long time, you think, oh, it's time to prep it again. Completes are a lot easier. But it's good that raw gives that option, because a kibble bag, you can buy, chicken and rice or whatever. I can't even remember the flavours anymore. But DIY, I suppose, does give you a bit more flexibility, but so does completes in a way, because if a manufacturer has the right different variety, you're not going to sort of miss out.
Definitely. Well, I have to admit, this is where you go, oh my God, I can't talk to you. I am actually a kibble feeder purely because we live in a caravan and I have no storage. I have zero storage. So, and actually, we spoke a while back now, actually, and I did want to try Betsy's for my big shepherd, because he's so fussy that when I put raw down, he wouldn't eat it. And this kibble that we've got it's really, really good. And it's the first time in 5 years he's consistently eaten. So I'm a bit loath to try him on anything else. My Patterdale absolutely loved being on raw, and I know that my baby shepherd would also love it as well, because she's such a gobbler. But that's the thing, isn't it? With the DIY, I really struggled with the room to defrost it, the smell. It was disgusting. I hated the smell of it, and I think that's what puts a lot of people off. But you said with Betsy, with having it in the tubs and stuff, that can go straight out. So actually, it sounds like the easier option.
Yeah, and as well, because sort of what we suggest in the summer is we would say when you've got your tubs, put them in the fridge until bin day if you want to, and then sort of put them all out together. But with sort of, you mentioned the smell, with DIY, I think because you're sort of defrosting it down to a point, doing it, and then how we work it with Betsy's is the product will come in sort of a Wednesday or a Thursday fresh, and we will prep it sort of next day, so it's totally fresh, and then it's frozen down sort of minus 22 degrees. And we've had a lot of people say that the smell, it's not even our chicken and tripe and our fish and tripe, and because tripe can be smelly, but because we get it so fresh, it's not, unless I've just become immune to it, but it's not as bad. So that is another winner for me for completes. With ours, the way we do it, it's so fresh. The smell isn't too bad at all.
So if people had, I'm just thinking what sort of questions that people would ask if they were thinking about jumping over. Say, is there any age that you would switch them? So if someone had a puppy, would you recommend them going straight onto raw? Or if someone had an older dog and were looking to transition, would you recommend transitioning an older dog?
I think they can be transitioned at any point. I mean, I know a lot of breeders do feed kibble, so that's a lot of the sort of a new puppy owner especially, they would perhaps get nervous, you know, the breeders had it on this kibble, and as a breeder myself, I would always sort of recommend, well, if you're getting a new puppy, let them have a few weeks at home to settle, because puppies it's a big trauma for them, bringing them home. They've left their mum, they left their litter mates and everything they know. Now's probably not the time to change their food. Give them a little time to settle in. But I have kibble weaned my puppies and I've raw weaned my puppies, and the difference is quite something else. Just sort of the chunkiness of them, their sort of curiosity, just everything, their behaviour is so much, I would say, improved on a raw. But for older dogs, again, I would transition them, and the way that we say to do it is that their stomach sort of needs a reset period. So if you feed kibble a little bit earlier for tea, maybe sort of 4 or 5 o'clock rather than say 6 or 7 o'clock, the next morning you could just start them on raw. My older girl Bella, when we started her on raw, she would have been 5, I think, and she took to it. She loved it. But I do know of dogs that need a little bit of warming up to raw, the texture for them and the smell a little bit, you know, it's so much different to kibble, so they might need a little bit of persistence. It's sort of like, the way I say it is, a really poor kibble, it's like feeding your dog McDonald's every day. People have probably heard that before. So of course, like your child, for example, if you offer them McDonald's every day, hell yeah, I'm going to take the McDonald's. If you want them to eat their veg, you've got to sort of just push it a little bit more, be persistent. But a good little technique that we sort of offer is buying a little bit of bone broth, which we do as well. And this isn't a sales ploy. We bought the bone broth in because it was a good sort of addition. Just warm a little bit of that up and put it on the food, and it normally does encourage. So I would say no age. They can get transitioned over at any point.
Fab. And with your bone broth that you mentioned then, is that something you'd recommend for dogs that have perhaps had to have an operation or are feeling a bit under the weather and need to build up, because obviously digesting anything, is like when Prim was sprayed, oh my goodness, she's so dramatic. Like, she came out of the vets at the Dogs Trust, because that's where she came from, and she couldn't even look at me. Like, her ears were back, she was so sorry for herself. Like, she was shaking, she was sick, she was crying. Like, I don't think I slept for 2 nights. It was just, she is a drama queen. She needed a monster for that performance. And I was trying her on like fresh chicken, on bits of scrambled egg, and like 5 o'clock one morning I said to Jo, she's not eating now for 2 days. Like, she's obviously really in a lot of pain. So I went to M&S, like, that's 24-hour one, and bought her like the finest chicken, the best of this, the best of that. Got home and she'd eaten everything else I left for her. I was like, oh, I knew you would do that to me. But so would you say with the bone broth, that's quite a nice gentle thing for tummies after recovering?
Definitely. I mean, it is sort of specifically for, it helps with arthritis in older dogs as well, or like sort of sick recovering dogs, definitely. And for me, I always sort of say it's great for whelping mums as well. So I've given it to my mums whilst they're in the midst of it, because a lot of people will sort of feed calcium, which you can do just to keep them going, but the bone broth I found works perfectly. It just really gives them that bit of oomph that they need.
Whelping, I suppose, with the extra pressure the body's under.
Yeah, definitely. And all those placentas that they eat, so bone broth just helps it, just washes it all down nicely. What we always say is with the bone broth, not what we always say, what you can do with the bone broth is you can defrost that down fully. And we would say sort of put them in ice cube trays or little pots, and then you don't want to be getting, because it's a 500 ml, you don't want to be getting that out every time and defrosting it then refreezing it. So it's good to do it in one go, and then as and when you need it, you've got a nice little amount that you can just pop in for them. But yeah, definitely it's a winner, definite winner.
And that little tip there about using the ice cube trays, I've been doing a lot through this COVID-19 stuff, with keeping dogs entertained and everything, but actually and slow feed and scatter feed and all the rest of it. And a lot of people have been like, oh, well, I feed raw, I can't really do that. But you can still do it, can't you? You can break it down into the ice cube trays. You can feed frozen, and keep them entertained for a bit longer, and just break down, because like licking and chewing, anything like that, even stuffing it in tongs can really slow down and calm their mind. And I suppose as we start to see people going back to work, there's going to be separation anxiety coming in. But also that can be really good now if people are trying to, if they're raw feeders and they want the dog to go and chill out for a bit, send them off with a frozen raw Kong, or your ice cube tray, and it'll entertain them a bit.
Definitely. And canine enrichment is such a positive for dogs, because it gets them to work for their food as well. We sort of do try and promote to ditch the bowl a little bit, and you can do it with raw, absolutely. So admittedly you can't use a snuffle mat, that would be a bit grim, but you can use licky mats, Kongs, you can get the paw pods that you can sort of put them in, and you can feed frozen. But what we've found is if you feed it fresh, defrosted, and sort of really get it in there, it's better, because especially with the licky mats, if it's frozen, they just have to peel up an edge and the whole lot comes. So so defrosted is better, because then they have to really work at it. Yeah, I've fed mine in sort of egg cartons, I've got 4 beagles, so trying to keep them entertained, and it works a treat. Slow bowls, you can sort of really mush it in all the slow bowl feeders for them. There's no sort of you can't not do it just because it's raw. You can still get that. And definitely when people are going back to work, it's definitely good to keep their mind occupied, because they're going to have a big jump when everyone has to go back.
Fab, yeah, they will. It's a bit of it's lovely at the minute, but you think that's going to come in at some point, and the dogs are going to be like, oh my god, where have you gone?
Well, for the first week they might go, thank god I can sleep again.
That's it. I swear my little cat today was getting grumpy because he can't sleep for 23 hours a day. So you also mentioned, in fact, I'll come back to that in a second. I was going to ask about supplements. So do you find that on raw feeding you need to add any extra supplements, or would you recommend adding any supplements or veg or anything else extra, or is complete? They don't need anything else?
Well, we don't actually call our meals complete, because they're technically not. They're complementary. I can't say a lot. There are perhaps some brands that do say complete, and they're actually technically not. So we call all our meals complementary, and then because we do just add the meat, and then that gives the people that are feeding the opportunity to feed additionals as to what they want. So the reason that we didn't add any veg or anything like that, any fruit, nothing in, was because at the time Bryony had a foster dog. He was a beagle, and he had such problems with his ears, and he was so grumpy, so grumpy, and she was back and forth at the vets, back and forth, and they were giving her sort of antibiotics and drops and everything, which he hated. And it turned out, after lots of research on Bryony's behalf, it was the fruit and veg were irritating his ears, the sugar. So she cut out all fruit and veg, cleared up, no problem. And this is something that you can add in, you can't take out. So if we offer meals that have all your veg in, all your fruit in, and different supplements, and you don't want that, then that's totally off it's a no starter for you. So at least it gives you the opportunity at home to think, oh, I'm going to add a bit of broccoli today, or I'm going to add a bit of spinach, or there's a raw egg, and it gives you the freedom. But we also do offer Door West products, which we love, we think are fantastic. So if people like me, who've got 4 dogs, a toddler and a business, 1 scoop of Keeper's Mix, happy days.
I was going to say, you don't mix. I've used that before, and it's a really nice product and goes such a long way. You think, like, when you buy it, you're like, oh, but actually it lasts for so long. I was so surprised, and how little you need of it to work. I really like the Door West products, and particularly their Skull Cap and Valerian tablets. When I can get my big shepherd to take them, there's a massive difference in it's like he just goes, oh, you're okay, I'm a bit more chilled.
Yeah,
around the winter time, bonfire night, all of that. The Pasadale was on some strong drugs from the vets, but they just it was like he was stoned. I was like, I can't do this to him. But actually the Skull Cap and Valerian, more of a natural mix, was much better for him. But the Door West range is nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And we've also got the Easy Green, which is a really good one to have. And then we stock sort of some things like the Omega Star, which is great for especially sort of if you're switching over, if you've got, like Betsy with her irritable skin, it just gives that bit of a boost to the skin and the fur and that sort of thing. So yeah, their products are great, which is why we stock them. We love them.
Yeah, they are really nice. Do you find, and I know you're going to say yes to this because so many people say it, that raw feeding helps with hyperactivity, not massive behavioural problems, but can curb some behavioural problems because it's not got the additives that you see in the cheap kibble?
Yeah, I mean, I must admit that when before I switched over to raw, I was on a sort of a higher quality kibble, which was better. But so you can feed kibble and it can help, but if you're feeding the really lower end, and I think people know what brands I'm sort of insinuating, then yes. The first thing for me as a breeder, when beagles, they're a bit anyway, but when puppy owners take their new babies home and they're, you know, after a little while they're going, oh, they're a bit crazy, the first thing I'll ask is what they're being fed on. And I'm not judgmental on whether it is kibble or it is raw, because people have their different choices for very different reasons, which is fair enough. But if it's a certain kibble, I will just, it is like feeding McDonald's every day. It's crazy. But there is that with raw as well, slightly. There are some, one of my beagles, if they're fed sort of a higher protein, higher fat level raw, they can go a bit like, woohoo. So things like lamb, we stay away with for her. But generally speaking, on the whole, that's me being very picky, I think, because I'm more in tune to it now. On the whole, you probably wouldn't have noticed. But yeah, raw can really help with behaviour and that sort of thing, definitely.
Honestly, it's so interesting. I could talk to you all day about it. It's so funny what you say about beagles. Like, people look at them and they think, oh God, they're so cute, but they are a hound.
Yeah.
When you break it down for people and you're like, okay, their breed characteristics are hunting XYZ, and they're like, oh yeah, actually it makes a bit of sense. And then Selena, my business partner, she's absolutely crackers. She got a puggle. So she got a cross beagle. He's something else. He's adorable. He's so handsome, but when he's on one, and you're just like, how? What are you doing now? But he's a lovely, lovely dog. Proper cuddle monster.
Yeah, they are. That's the trouble. They're so darn cute. Draws people in. When people when I have potential puppy buyers, I'm like, do you know about beagles? Do you know the breed? I mean, with the right I'm not just saying this, with the right food, with the right training, with the right exercise and the mental stimulation, they are, I mean, I've got 4. They are lovely. I love them all to death. But if people are sort of taking on a beagle on a whim, it's a no. If you don't know what you're doing with a beagle, you are in for a nightmare. But yeah, like any dog, you just got to know what makes them tick. So like you said, hounds, scent dogs, we do a lot of sort of find its. And because they're raw fed, it doesn't mean that I can't do that. I will cut up sort of tiny bits of cheese for them, or Betsy's, we have natural treats anyway, sort of beef kidney, beef liver that are all air dried. Hide some of them around the garden. They know what's coming. At that door, I'll say, go find it. Half an hour they're out there just checking everywhere that they've not missed a crumb. So yeah, as long as you know what makes them tick.
That's the thing, isn't it, with any breed, is understanding what their drivers are and everything. And dogs love using their noses. Like, I've just started a scent work course actually with my shepherds, and like hearing their nose work anyway. I love hearing dogs sniffing it. I go, oh, look at her. But like Prim, my baby shepherd, her nose is fantastic. And seeing her using it, she's like, do you know what, Mum? I know what this is all about. And it's so underutilised, isn't it? And we think that they just want cuddles or they just want this or that. But actually, they want to be using their nose and doing what they're bred for.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's so many people that I sometimes see on a walk going past my house, and they're pulling the dog, and I think that's how they see the world, through their nose. Let them have a sniff. Just let them have a 5-minute sniff. It's, you know. But with the scent work, we did the scent work, and it was fantastic. But so tired afterwards. Brilliant. And you can bring it home. You can learn tools to bring home, so it's great. You can sort of carry it on at home as well if you want to. It's fab.
Yeah, it's fab. So if people wanted to know more about Betsy's, are you on social media websites? Give us all of that information.
Yeah, so our website is betsysrawfood.com. We do have a few blogs on there. So under our info tab, we've got like a starter guide, we've got adding supplements, we've got a bit about Door West, why we don't have fruit and veg, all different stuff like that. But we're a new manufacturer. We're small, we're a friendly little team. If there's anything specific, Facebook us. Just head over to Facebook, just search Betsy's Raw Food, just drop us a message. We've chatted with plenty of people, even about raw and dogs. You know, you don't have to be a customer. If you just want to know a bit more about raw and you want to sort of ask specific questions about your dog, just pop over to Facebook. And Instagram we're on, but I use Instagram and I'm a bit with it. I'm more comfortable with Facebook, so Facebook's my go-to, but we're on Instagram as well, so we're just always happy for a chat, anything dogs.
Oh, brilliant. That's great. It's been so lovely to catch up with you, and I feel like we could sit all day chatting about dogs and raw food and stuff. But if people see this and they head over to ask you questions, then that is wonderful. So it's been lovely to chat to you, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.